Well, all right, y'all. Welcome to this special edition of the Bullpen. Today, we'll be talking to Matt Schaub about the Texans' playoff hopes and more on this edition of the Bullpen.
To throw the punches. He floats one wide open, and there he goes. Touchdown for a Texan touchdown.
All right, y'all. Welcome to this edition of the Bullpen. I'm James Roy, and this is Tom Chavarria, my co-host, and we're here today with Texans legend Matt Schaub. Matt, how are you doing today?
I'm doing good, guys. Thanks for having me on.
It's a pleasure to have you on today. What an incredible career you had, and I would personally say that the best parts of it happened with the Texans. That leads me into my first question for you, just to get started out on kind of like an icebreaker of sorts. You're drafted by the Falcons, and you moved around the league to the Ravens and Raiders. What does it feel like to have such like a varied career where like there's parts of it that were more up and some down, and ending up with the Falcons being a football analyst? Like, which is there an organization you gravitate to more, or at the end of the day, is it just you loved the career that you had?
Well, I think it's all of that. You play this game long enough, you're going to have, ebbs and flows. You're going to have some good times, some tough times. But, I was very fortunate to play 17 years and across 4 organizations. And, I still refer to Houston as home. That's 7 years of my life. And that was my, my starting career, was there. And they gave me an opportunity to come from Atlanta, backing up Michael Vick for 3 years, traded for me to come be the franchise quarterback. And so I was very fortunate that those 7 years happened and made so many lifelong friendships and relationships, and really hold Houston close. And so, then, like you said, went to Oakland for a year and Baltimore for a year, but settled back in Atlanta for my final 5 years of my career. So it's split between the two, but Houston and the Texans organization gave me a shot, and I'm forever indebted to them for that.
No, yeah. And so you work as an analyst for the Falcons. Now, I did brief research and kind of understand that, but just for the edification of those of us who may not know exactly what that means, since it's a broad term, can you kind of describe what your day-to-day is this past year with the Falcons?
Sure. I joined in on the staff, after talking to Arthur Smith in the summer and right before training camp, or right at the start of training camp. And I think that term is it's more of just a label. And it can be molded into whatever the staff and whatever the head coach needs. And for me, it was more in like a situational game management type of role. And, my day to day was looking league wide at various situations. There's always stuff that comes up week to week and how things are handled, timing of certain plays and things that go on and how we can handle them, how that we can gain an advantage or use the clock better, or just managing the game, challenges, replays, everything that goes into the behind the scenes type of work, managing a football game and having played in a quarterback position, being aware of a lot of these situations. It was an interesting role to jump into, and I was grateful for Arthur for giving me that opportunity. It was a lot of fun to be a part of that and to utilize some of the knowledge that I accumulated in that role.
Matt, I've got a question. I'm really interested. I mean, you talked about 17 years as a quarterback. What do you think about the evolution of the quarterback from when you started to now, and really what it takes to be a quarterback in the league currently? And is the preparation, do you think it's similar? Do you think there's a different level? I mean, there's so much, I guess now with the run option that the quarterback, I mean, there's always been running quarterbacks, but I think now it's really schemed where before it was not so natural, I guess. Most quarterbacks are back in the day, I would like to say were, stand in the pocket a little bit. Obviously there was different guys that did different things, but just what do you think about the evolution of what the quarterback looks like today versus when you started?
Yeah, I mean, over the course of history, and even today, I mean, the preparation, the time involved, and the work that you need to do from Monday to Saturday to be ready to go out and perform on Sunday, that'll never change. Especially the way defenses have evolved and some of the coverages and the blitz schemes. I always tell people though that there's 11 guys in the huddle on each side. There's only so many lines you can draw on paper. There's only so many fronts and blitzes. At the end of the day, you just have to be able to diagnose things on the fly when the ball is snapped and be able to, the quarterback position, it comes down to decision making, timing, and being accurate with the football. But yes, offensive football has changed. You see a lot more pistol, you see a lot more shotgun, you see a lot more of what over the last 20 years you saw in the college game. And I think that's helped young players transition easier as a young NFL player in the rookie season and even second season, being able to give things to them that they're comfortable doing and what they've done before so they can go out and have success. And that comes with the RPO action. That comes with some of the run alerts that you have where it's really a running play, but they have a pass off of it, whether it's a bubble screen or a little slant, things of that nature. And it's just keeping your eyes on one defender. And if he does this, you're going to throw it. If he doesn't, you hand it off. And so it's the best of both worlds type of game. But at the end of the day, it still comes down to third down, making good decisions, delivering the football, scoring in the red zone, and not turning the football over. Those things will never change as far as winning football is concerned. But the position has evolved a little bit, and the game has evolved a lot.
And now that being said, C.J. Stroud it currently plays for offensive coordinator Bobby Slowick. We can trace the lineage all we want, but there was a brief period where Kyle Shanahan was the offensive coordinator in Houston while you were there. There's a lot of talk about his coaching tree. I like to think that it's kind of a branch of Kubiak's coaching tree in some way. That's just me being a homer and a Texans fan, I think. But looking at what CJ has done, since it kind of can be traced back to what you did in Houston, what is your... Do you think that it looks a lot like what you did, or is it significantly different from what you did while you were in Houston?
When the ball snapped, a lot of it does look the same. Now, the things that have changed are some of the pre-snap things that go on, whether it's motions, shifts, just a window dressing, as we like to call it, that to give the defense a different picture and get them out of sorts and make them communicate. But like you said, Bobby Slowick, he does trace back to with Kyle Shanahan, who obviously was in Houston with Gary Kubiak and myself. And that's the Mike Shanahan to Gary Kubiak to Kyle. And there's 4 or 5 other head coaches now in the league that were under that same umbrella. But if you look at those coaches, the system does seem to work. And if you just dial plays up, put guys in advantageous situations where they can perform and use their skills to the highest level, they'll be successful. And it's been impressive to watch CJ this year. We played them in early or mid-October. I forget what the date was.
We don't like to talk about that game because
well, it was early in the season. Everyone was still finding their way and just trying to develop an identity. But you could see, and I watched a lot of their tape with just crossing over with the NFC South playing the AFC South. And it's been impressive. Such an impressive young man and quarterback, very fundamentally sound. You can tell that he has the foundation with his footwork, his throwing motion, timing, and the ball jumps off his hand and he makes good decisions. That's clear with his touchdown to interception ratio. And, he's just an impressive young man. So the sky's the limit for him, and just couldn't be, more pleased to see him play at such a high level. And for DeMeco Ryans, good friend of mine.
And you did, have you talked to DeMeco since he won the AFC South championship? Like, I don't know. Are y'all close like that, or I know y'all played together for most of your time there? Yeah,
I've texted him. Obviously, it's a little crazy time, and you win, and then you immediately turn the page to your first round matchup in Wild Card Weekend, and so I understand he's probably in the submarine going to work and just hammering out a game plan. So, but we've touched base numerous times, and in the off season, that's really when a lot of that back and forth really comes to fruition. Everyone comes up for air and can follow up on hundreds of messages. But man, I couldn't be more happy for him. I mean, clearly, strong case for Coach of the Year for DeMeco.
Of course. And one more thing, today in his press conference, he was asked about how the team is preparing, like how he's communicating to the team that the playoffs are like a whole nother level from the regular season. And he said it's not. That was his answer. He said that like it's just another game. We're just trying to get better day by day. Does that reflect the culture that was there when you were there, or is that like a DeMeco thing?
No, I mean, I think that's a smart way to approach it. Everyone knows that it's a bigger game. Everyone knows it's one and done. To just pile on and add more verbiage to that, sometimes it's hard to focus on the game plan as a player. And when you got a young team, it's best when the ball's kicked off and you're between the white lines, it's football. The wild card weekend, while some of the details and each play does hold a lot more weight, the game, the way it's played, it's no different than week 2, no different than week 14. It's still football. So to keep that perspective and keep the players laser focused on their game plan and what their preparation, I think it's a smart way to go. Everyone knows it's the playoffs. Everyone knows that. There's always that innate pressure and that innate in the back of your mind feeling. So to just keep the main thing, so to speak, is a smart way to go.
Matt, JJ, Andre, so many of your other former teammates talk about DeMeco as he always felt like he was going to be a coach. Did you have that same feeling when you played with him? Like, did he just everything scream leader? I mean, obviously he led the defense, but like for him now, he just fell into this role just like so seamlessly. I mean, it's really hasn't been the long coaching route. You see so many guys. I mean, obviously some of the young offensive coordinators move pretty quickly, but on the defensive side, it seems like it takes a little bit longer. But DeMeco has jumped right to it, and he looks perfect for the job. I'm just wondering what your thoughts were, obviously being on the team and now seeing him now.
Yeah, it was very apparent. When I first got to Houston, he was going into year 2. So obviously he played amazingly well as a rookie, but just going in and he's the Mike linebacker, right? So he's the leader of the defense. Now he's not the most vocal guy back then, but he led by example and he knew when to speak up. But he was just a calm presence. And you could sense that if this guy wants to go be a coach, he'll be a head coach and he'll be successful. It was just a matter of time because of his leadership qualities, because of how he viewed the game and his work ethic. And it was just a matter of him wanting to do it. And you could see that he would ascend to the head coaching ranks very quickly.
So with that being said, go ahead.
Oh, sorry. No, I agree with that. DeMeco had always had that about him. Now, there was a video that came out of him when y'all won the AFC South Championship the first time. And looking back at that, was it a cool moment to see, like, kind of full circle, him winning the AFC South Championship with the team and then coming back and his first year coaching, winning the AFC South Championship?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that was the first time the franchise had won the division, and to see him come back, and it's been a handful of years since they've been in the playoffs, and for them to win the division, and especially in the fashion that they did on the road in Indy, week 18, it's just a cool moment, and to see him be able to enjoy that, and it's pretty cool, and it's good for the city, it's good for the organization, and obviously for his career.
Now, I was just going to ask, is coaching something you could see yourself doing in the future? Is that a path you might take? Maybe the booth. I see a lot of quarterbacks hop into the booth and drawing up plays. You interested in any of that?
We'll see. We'll see where the chips fall. Obviously jumped into the pond this season, and we kind of see how that turned out. But we'll see what comes down here in the next few weeks, next month, and just enjoying some family time after the season ended, and we'll see what opportunities come down.
Now, looking back to your time with the Texans and looking through, obviously, in a lot of people's eyes, myself personally, like it was one of my darkest moments as a Texans fan was sitting 9-3. You're playing the Buccaneers, and then all of a sudden you're on a QB sneak backed up on your own goal line. And Albert Hainsworth decides to sit on your leg. Linsfrank, I believe, is the exact term. Breaks it. You played the rest of the game, or at least a good portion of it, and then went out. I remember that. And I also remember the build-up late in that season. It was a lot of next man up mentality. And I've always felt like that was kind of coaching, coach speak for we're going to put someone out there and hope for the best. But it's felt like this whole season for the Texans this year that DeMeco has said next man up, and it's continued to happen. What do you think is the difference there? Obviously, there was some success when you guys back in 2011 had to put TJ Yates, or I guess it was initially Matt Leinart, and then TJ Yates in, and you still managed to push into the playoffs. But do you feel like there's a difference between these two teams in terms of the ability to overcome injury?
Well, to be honest, as far as this season with the Texans, I don't necessarily. I'm aware of some of the injuries that have occurred. I'm not fully aware of like their season-long or IR injury report. But listen, it's a fact of life in the NFL. You're going to get injured. You hope that they're not as severe as sometimes they can be, and you hope that they don't keep you out for a certain length of time, and you hope that they don't happen in bunches. But sometimes that happens, and unfortunately, at that point for me. It did put me out for the season, and especially the first year that we were able to win the division and get in the playoffs, to miss that was tough. But, that's something that this league always goes through. Every team has to deal with them. And that next man up mentality, while it is a little bit of coach speak, it's real. The game doesn't wait on anyone. So if you can't go in, the play clock's ticking. So you got to get a play call in. Someone's got to jump in there. And, that's just a fact of the game. And so it's who can sustain, overcome, and find a way to win with the players you have. And it just goes to preparation. There's a lot of behind the scenes work. And when there's only so many reps in practice. So whether it's quarterback position or an offensive lineman, you have to be mentally sharp. You have to be studying. You have to be into the game plan, because at a moment's notice, you could be in there having to perform. And it just goes to how guys prepare week to week.
I'm curious, and this is, into the mind of a quarterback a little bit. How do you prepare? Like they talk about players having like different rituals and things of that nature. Do you have a favorite meal? Is there a movie you watch? Is there a way you like clear your mind? Is it like, I just live my life and I just go in there, I just go play? I mean, everybody's different. I'm just curious, do you have anything interesting that you would be willing to share?
I don't know if you could say that they're interesting. I mean, it's pretty vanilla and pretty plain as far as I'm concerned. It was all about the preparation, making sure the game plan was nailed down, memorized, knew what I was going to do when it happened, and saw it happen and visualized it beforehand. There's everyone's superstitious. You don't want to, anyone who says they're not would be lying to you. And it's probably just because it's innate and they don't think about it. Whether it is, I would always always eat the same meal on Sunday mornings, the pregame meal, like whatever that is, or whatever time the game was. Maybe if we had a night game, it would change. But, there wasn't anything crazy, nothing that those that are listening would be impressed by.
No, and we actually just had a question come in through the chat. I think it's a very valid one to ask. I'm going to put it up on the screen. Do you think we have a good chance to win this Saturday against the Browns?
Absolutely. You got a chance to win. You're at home. The talent that you have, the way the team is played, the way CJ's played, the defense plays opportunistic and can get a couple turnovers. Why not? Of course they can win this week. I mean, any given day, your preparation, you go out and play good football. Absolutely, you can win.
And that brings up a question that I had. I don't know if you saw it, but C.J. Stroud was recently on the Pat McAfee show, and they basically, they asked him how the media affects his preparation for stuff, and he was like, I don't really pay attention to that. I'm locked in. And then they basically said, well, since you don't watch the media, no one thinks you can beat the Browns. You do not have any chance. Stephen A. said a rookie's not going to beat the Browns on Saturday. Having been a quarterback in the league and probably having been put in positions to like answer questions from the media, how do you perceive that interaction? Like having been in his shoes, like, because he handled it pretty well, but I'm interested to see what your thoughts are.
Yeah, the media is inevitable. They can they have the final say, right? They have the pen is pretty mighty, and the microphone's pretty mighty. So you have to go out and you have to be able to handle the media, whether it's TV, whether it's writers or social media. I mean, that's a thing that has really exploded. Is everyone is a reporter now. Everyone has a camera in their hand. Everyone has a record button and can easily blast stuff out there right away at a moment's notice that the world can see. And so you always have to be on guard and be have a clear head about you and what you want to say, and not present any bulletin board material or fall into any trap. So I think, especially for him, I mean, he handled it great at a national stage, and I think that's important to just be aware. And I think young players, that's something that this generation has way more attention on them than even 15, 20 years ago, but prior to social media and a lot of those things. But I don't want to say it's a necessary evil, because it can be a good thing. So it's not, media is not all bad, but it's just approaching it the right way and handling it the right way and being a pro about your business is the important thing.
Sweet. I mean, I think he handled it really well, and I think one of the reasons that he handled it really well is that, as it's been pretty publicly advertised, it's hard to ask C.J. Stroud an opening question to an interview without him giving all glory to his Lord and Savior Jesus Christ. And I know, as from what I've read, you're a man of faith too. How do you view C.J. Stroud's going about expressing his faith? He's been very vocal about it.
Yep.
He says, like, I'm glad that I'm a vessel that can be used to glorify God. How do you perceive how he's gone about doing that?
I think it's a beautiful thing. And I think that, the more guys that can follow that lead, that have those same beliefs, would be a wonderful sight. It's really cool to see that, because, nothing would be possible without the gifts and the blessings that we all have. And so for him to share that and use his platform, for to share his faith and his beliefs, because there's a lot of young eyes and a lot of young viewers. And I think that's just such a powerful statement, on his behalf, and a demonstration. And I think it's great.
I guess the other question I was going to ask earlier, would you have thought that social media would have made your job harder, like back when you started? Would you have been more like seeing it now? Would you have been more concerned about what you said or what you did or how you lived your personal life? Because it seems like you said, everybody's a reporter, where 15 years ago you could basically do what you wanted and not necessarily have those eyes on you all the time.
Well, there was always still eyes. That never changes. But I wouldn't have done anything differently. I felt, just from my upbringing, from in my perspective and how I viewed my profession, I wouldn't have changed how I handled anything or done anything. As far as whether off the field or on the field. But it's just something that in this day and age, you're 100% always have to be on. Wherever you go, even back then, you go to the grocery store, you go places, you go out in public, people are going to recognize you, or restaurants or things like that. Now it's everywhere, and they have a device that can blast whatever you say or whatever you do, whether it's in context or out of context. And then, you have to speak to it. And it's just, it wouldn't have changed anything I did, back in the day.
And we actually have another question from the crowd. And so late in your time with the Texans, leading into that final season, there was rumors that floated around. It was around the time that Peyton Manning became available as a free agent. And Coach Kubiak, to his credit, went about very concisely saying that the Texans were not pursuing Peyton Manning. But how was it handling that situation from your perspective, just that rumor going around?
I really honestly didn't even pay any attention to it, because everyone has opinions, everyone has rumors, and all it takes is one person out of however many pay attention to the NFL on any given day to spark something. And as soon as something like that came out, Coach Koob called me and put that to bed and said that was nonsense, and that wasn't even something internally anyone had discussed. So I didn't pay any attention to it, and it was quickly diffused on inside the organization and building. So it spent zero time in my headspace.
That's great to hear. I'm glad that he came to you straight away and told you, because like that stuff can like linger in your head, and it's such a mental game playing football. So I'm glad that he went out of his way to like let you know that, because like from the outside looking in as a fan, I was like, I think the Texans might actually go after Peyton Manning, and then that was like kind of it got squashed pretty quick. But like there was a moment where I was like, I would hate to be Matt and be, you know, handling that rumor. But speaking back to that time and kind of drawing another close connection of yours, we all know the classic call: fakes the handoff to Arian Foster, drops back, look deep, it's Andre Johnson. He is a finalist for the Hall of Fame. It's the third year in a row he's been announced for it. I think he should have been a first ballot Hall of Famer. Maybe I'm a little biased there, but how do you view his candidacy for Hall of Fame? Do you think that he's like he should be in, and like I don't know. I mean, how do you feel?
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. I couldn't agree more that he should have been a first ballot Hall of Famer, and it's only a matter of time, and where he gets the knock on his door and gets the gold jacket, and it should be this year. Should have been last year. Should have been the year before that. But he's going to get in, and rightfully so. I mean, the guy was an absolute beast on the football field, and honestly, he was one of the best teammates I've ever played with. Just his work ethic, how he went about his business, team first guy, didn't care about numbers. He was going to get them anyway. And he wanted to work and he wanted to win. And you can't ask for anything more from your superstars on your team. And if it meant running 10 extra go routes after practice in August, he was going to do it. It didn't matter to him, whatever it took to meet at University of Houston and throw in late June, early July. He was there. Is just a consummate professional and great teammate. And, obviously he put up the numbers. So it's only a matter of time, but he's going to get in.
No, yeah. So looking back, there are a couple of other players that have kind of interweaved with your connections throughout the league. TJ Yates. So TJ Yates ended up stepping in for you, and he also has kind of overlapped with you later throughout your career. Are you guys still like connected? Do you still talk about like 2011 and how big that was, or like how is your connection with TJ?
Yeah, I mean, we spent 3 years as teammates, where he came in 2011, coming off the lockout year where we were locked out of the building. It was when he got drafted. And then we already referenced how that season went down when I got injured. And then TJ went in and led the team in the playoffs. And we were teammates in 12 and 13. And then went different ways, but we always kept in touch, played golf. We were close. And, he's been the wide receiver coach on the Atlanta Falcons the last few years. So I was working with him this season. And so it was good to have a familiar face in the building. And so, yeah, we're good friends and, keep in touch and talk all the time.
And what is that like? So you said he's wide receivers coach, played quarterback. What is that like? Is it when you're out seeking a job as a coach, is it just like, you're open to do it? Do you have like your strengths and weaknesses, or does it like shake out that way? Like, how did he go from playing quarterback to coaching wide receivers?
Well, obviously as a quarterback, you deal with the wide receivers firsthand all the time because you got to be on the same page, timing of throws, where you expect to be, your steps. And so I think it's just something that as he got into the coaching game and he, started in on it, that was the opportunity that showed up. Right. And where he could make an impact. That would be something you'd have to ask him how that evolution of that. But I mean, it's a natural progression as far as if you were going to jump in to be a position coach as a former quarterback, wide receiver would probably be the next one, up after quarterback.
Who's the better golfer? Who's giving strokes?
It's been a while since me and him played, but I'm naturally going to say myself, obviously. I mean, but whenever we do play, there's no strokes given. It's just, hey, we're just going to go. We're going to drop the gloves and we're going to go play.
That's cool.
Oh yeah. So bringing it back to the Texans playoff matchup coming up, I guess, and we're approaching 30 minutes, so I kind of want to respect your time here. But one last question from me. If you could give CJ Stroud any piece of advice going into this, you're 1-1 in the playoffs, beat the Bengals, went into New England and gave them all you got. What is your advice to CJ going into this matchup against the Browns?
Yeah, just be yourself. Do what you've been doing all year. one play at a time, and don't change. Just stay consistent and just play within yourself and, play within the offense. That's it. And, just take them one at a time and look up at the scoreboard at the end. You'll like what you see.
All right. Tom, did you have any further questions?
I'm all tapped out. Matt, I just want to thank you so much again. This has been awesome. Really appreciate your time. I don't know where your coaching thing or analyst thing will go, but if they get the boys back together in Houston, I definitely hope you're a part of that, because I love what the Texans are doing. And if DeMeco wants to bring all the guys, he said JJ can come back in any capacity. I hope Andre's there in a capacity. You're there. I hope they get the whole band back together.
Well, I appreciate it. Thank you.
That'd be amazing. And I also would like to say thank you for coming on today. You can find me on social media at M1 Texans Fan, Tom at Third Coast Tom, and Matt is a verified user of all social media. If you search Matt Schaub, you'll be able to find him wherever he is at. But yeah, once again, thank you. Thanks to everyone for tuning in and listening. And until next time, stay classy, Houston, and vamos Texans. Thanks for tuning into The Bullpen, a Texans podcast, part of the Fans First Sports Network. Please like, comment, subscribe, and follow along for more Texans talk from The Bullpen.
Pick the handoff. Stroud.